What's up to my Real World Podcast audience? I have a special guest on the phone with us, ladies and gentlemen. I have Mr. Taran Helms on the phone. How you doing, Mr. Helms? You good?
I'm all wise and civilized. I'm great.
That's beautiful, Mr. Helms. Now, Mr. Helms, I want to let my podcast audience, know a little bit about your case. But before we go off into your case, Mr. Helms, I want to say you've been locked up now, about 13 and a half years, sir?
Yes, sir. 13 and a half, exactly.
13 and a half, okay. Now, before we go off into the situation that got you locked up, I want you to tell my podcast audience what it is that you've been doing since you've been locked away for 13 years behind the, in the prison system. What have you been tell us about the programs. What have you been doing to help other inmates? Talk to us, brother.
Okay, well, since I've been locked up, it was a learning experience from the beginning. Just coming into an unfamiliar environment with so many different personalities, it was an adjustment period. But, after I got more familiar with my environment, I started getting into different programs like Toastmasters, which made me a certified speaker. I already had my high school diploma and all of that before I got locked up, so I was helping tutor for a little bit. I got into a lot of different spiritual programs and recovery services, things that could pretty much prevent recidivism once I'm released. Also, I wrote a total of 8 books, 2 of them issues published and available online and stuff right now, but 6 more of them that's. And so, I've just been trying to make the best out of a negative situation and give my pain purpose for the most part.
Okay. So, Mr. Helms, we got to get right off into it, since you letting us know about the books and everything. But before we go off into that, why don't you let my audience know where your books, we talked earlier and you was telling me about a couple books that you had that's already published and they're out and about. Could you tell my audience where your books are so they can go and buy your book?
Well, you can purchase the books on greatestdiscoverypublishing.com. You can catch them on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. My poetry book is called From My Eyes, and it's just pretty much it's a 3-book trilogy where it's giving people, the audience, a better understanding of, it's a lot of decisions that we make as humans, and you never know how to respond to certain situations until you're in them. So From My Eyes is a situation, a novel written to give a person a better understanding about why some of the decisions that I made. And the second book to it would be Through My Eyes, and then the last book would be How I See It. Mm-hmm. The other book that's available as of right now is called Love, Time, and Death. It's an urban novel, but it's not a typical urban novel. It just gives you a better understanding of those 3 topics from different perspectives. And, it's just one of the books that'll keep you on the edge of your seat if you tap into it. And I started my own publishing company as well, too, to give people opportunity that a lot of people didn't give me, to create a platform and be able to control the narrative and be able to help other people in my position or people not in my position to help themselves.
Okay, so you've been doing some great things, Mr. Helms. I'm happy to hear that, brother. Now, Mr. Helms, let's get off into it. Mr. Helms, you are convicted for attempted murder.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
If I'm not mistaken, it's attempted murder and aggravated assault or something of that nature, aggravated robbery. Those are the cases.
No, it was attempted murder, felonious assault, aggravated robbery, kidnapping, and originally they gave me 4 gun specifications, which they modified and turned it into 1.
Okay. Great deal. Okay, congratulations with that victory. It's a small victory. But anything, a victory is a victory, and you got a W on that. Now, it clearly states that you had a co-defendant by the name of Hattie Gilbert, and you and Miss Gilbert. It says you guys practice. Well, you watched what is it? His name is Mr. Joseph Kaluza. You watched Mr. Joseph Kaluza at a KFC. You guys practice robbing the KFC. Is that true, Mr. Helms?
No, not at all. Hattie Gilbert is my co-defendant on this case. I was made aware of a situation that was going on when it came to somebody threatening her and her family, somebody that she was dealing with at the time. And, being that I was living out of her car at the time going to school, a lot of my property and belongings was in her car, and when she made me aware of the situation, which was, this guy was threatening her, telling her that if she didn't do what he told her to do, he was going to hurt her family. And this was somebody that she was dealing with. So they had already had an understanding pertaining to what was going on. And when she brought it to me, just me being who I am, someone who cared about her because she was willing to sacrifice everything for me. I gave, just to be completely honest, because that's what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing is, I told her, if you need me to take care of the situation, which was this guy at the time, I would have. But I told her, if that's not the case, where she said no, I told her, I can give you some protection to help yourself. Mm-hmm. Now, this same protection that I gave her was utilized in the case that was committed against Mr. Joe Kaluza.
Okay. So, are you telling us, Mr. Helms, you were nowhere at the crime scene? You had nothing to do with it, sir?
For me to say that I didn't know, I didn't have anything to do with it would be me not being all the way honest with you. The reason I say I had anything to do with it is because she made me aware of what was supposed to take place. And, according to the way society is now, if you know something, you're supposed to say something. But, I'm not going to say that I'm a product of my environment or make any excuses as to why I didn't do that. But the way I was raised is I'm not saying nothing about nothing. If the less you know, the less you got to speak. And that's how I was raised. So only thing I can do is provide a solution to the problem she was having. And that's what I did. So I was aware of what was supposed to happen. I just didn't do what most thought that I should have did to prevent it.
Okay, so basically, street code, hey, you ain't gonna say nothing, you know what I'm saying? You know about something that's going on, and you ain't gonna speak upon it. It ain't your business. Okay, that's honorable in the street code. You gotta salute and respect that. As a brother coming from the streets, I know that code. Hey, I ain't seen nothing. Prove I saw it. Okay, now.
Period.
That's right. Now, Mr. Helms, could you take us back to this day of what happened from the beginning to the end, sir?
Well, the morning that I guess all of the situation happened, I had went back home that night prior.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
The night prior to this, I was with Hattie, which was March 23rd, 2008. That night, I spent the night with her and was telling her that I was going back to stay with my baby mom, because I was back and forth between them. They were best friends at the time. And I was back and forth between them, but, my baby mom pretty much gave me the ultimatum that I had to choose my family or choose her. And I chose my family, but before, I made that step and going back home, which was with my family, I wanted to show my gratitude to this woman who sacrificed the things that she had sacrificed for me. So, I spent the night with her. We talked.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Now we got we got 1 minute. When can you call? Can you hang up and call right back, or you gotta wait a minute?
Yeah.
You can hang up.
No, I'm calling right back.
Okay, cool. So we'll just remember where you were. Hang up and go ahead and call right back. Wait. Now, this is the man that Hattie Gilbert loves. This is the dude that Hattie Gilbert protected. This is the guy that Hattie Gilbert did not want to make look foolish. She did not want him and his family to look bad. And if you go back and you listen to the Hattie Gilbert interview, you hear her clearly stating that she's not here to make her co-defendant or his family look bad. But what does it sound like the co-defendant is on the phone doing, ladies and gentlemen? It sounds like the co-defendant is about to throw her ass under the bus. That's what it sounds like. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We gonna bust his ass, and he just don't know that we did an interview with Hattie Gilbert. But we gonna let him know. So just sit back and watch. Sit back and watch. Y'all just heard what's going on this phone, right? This is Taran Helms. This is Hattie Gilbert's co-defendant, right? Now, remember in the interview that Hattie Gilbert did with us, Hattie Gilbert said that she didn't want to make her co-defendant or his family look bad, and she did not want to throw them under the bus. Remember that, ladies and gentlemen. But on this call, didn't it just sound like he was throwing her under the bus?
Yeah, I had spent the night with her, pretty much showed my gratitude. We kicked it all night, and I ended up going back home and, moving back and forth, just moving all my property back into the crib. And, the overall objective was for me to work enough at these little rinky-dink spots for me to accumulate enough money to be able to get her out of her sister's crib, because in the midst of her providing me with a place to be able to rest my head at night, because I wasn't going back to stay with my mom, my baby mom and her kids, she would sacrifice, like I said, she would sacrifice me sleeping in crawl spaces in her car, wherever we could sleep. She stayed with me, you feel me? And her sister ended up finding out that she was sneaking me in and out of the crib. So she told her, like, since you want to do that, you got to go. So in the midst of her giving me and providing for me when I needed her, she lost the things that she did. And for me saying that I'm going back to be with my baby mom, it was kind of like I felt like I was leaving her out there. So, like I was about to do whatever I needed to do as far as like work and, because at the time I was going to school for computer engineering as well at ICT Tech. So the morning that the situation happened, I took my baby mom to CC's Pizza. And, I had a newborn. My daughter wasn't even 6 months old yet. But, I had a newborn. And I took her over to, we were going to CC's Pizza. But before we went to CC's Pizza, we took my other daughter, my stepdaughter, to school. And on my way back from there, she took me to my father's house. And after...
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
After the situation that on the case occurred, they came and got me from my father's crib, because I guess that everything had already transpired. Now, my co-defendant ended up getting locked up and arrested. I guess she went down there and she told them several different stories. And in the midst of them telling her these stories, like the first time she lied, from what I'm hearing in the video statement that I seen, she told them somebody else's name. And then the second time, she told them a completely different story. But then the third time, in the midst of them, her telling these stories, she tells them the third story. She's like, man, you know what? She told them my first and last name. And they came and got me from my father's crib. You know what I mean? Like, and to me, that's what made her not credible. Like, how can you pick and choose which story you're going to believe? This is what the police did. Now, while they're interviewing her, I've seen this on in the discovery packet. They told her, like, the person that you're trying to protect, I want you to call, we're about to call your daughter and tell her that you're about to be serving 33 years for this person that you're trying to protect. So on the third and fourth story that she told them my name. And that's when they came and got me. You know what I mean? I was at my father's house when they ran up on me. You know what I mean? And at this point, after being locked up for so long, it's like during trial, it's like the publicity was so crazy. Like, it was racial slurs written in the bathroom. All of this is public record. It was racial slurs written in the bathroom. We were supposed to get a change of venue. There was no way for our case to be as highly publicized as it was, to be in the same city where things was being scrutinized. It's all over the news. They done dedicated a whole day to this man. Like, as far as like his name was Joe Kaluza Day. You know what I mean? Like, he was a victim. He was paralyzed from being shot. And it's like that part of it. Then the prosecutor told me to my face, like, man, if you would have just killed him, you would have got lesser time. You know what I mean? During the trial, the judge is seeing that the assistant prosecutor is slipping up on some of the things that he's saying. So they passing sticky notes back and forth to each other. Like, all of these things my lawyer objected to. But, when you're dealing with a state-appointed attorney, they pick and choose which cases they're going to truly fight for. Like, it sounds ridiculous, but these people all work together. They go play golf together. They go out to eat together. So these people that have rapport with each other. So they decide before you even go into that courtroom whether you're guilty or not. So it's not innocent until proven guilty. It's up to you to prove you're innocent, because innocence before you even get in the courtroom, because you're already guilty. And, during this whole trial with so many different things going on that wasn't supposed to be going on, but the thing that really, really took the cake and what could have changed the outcome of my case was it was a lady who said that from the beginning of this crime happening, she was standing at the bus stop where it happened, and she seen the man walk to the car, shoot this man, and walk past her. She seen his face, seen everything, and when they interrogated her, they told this lady, because her story didn't match with the other people who came down there, like, hey, listen, during trial, her name was never even brought up. And she identified somebody else and told them that it wasn't me. Now, during this time, she said that she was getting death threats against her life. Her child was being harassed in school. It was all kind of different little things going on because she was telling people that she could have gotten me out of prison. So now that I've been in here for all this time, and I finally got my discovery packet because they made it send it home because it was 2,300 pages. I find out about this lady. This lady found out because my mother passed 2016. And she finds like there's so many different things happening with me. And, you know, people have Facebook pages for me and they seeing his name. And she knew my name because they brought it to her. And when she found out my mother passed, she got in contact with a couple of my family members and told them, like, listen, man, that man is not supposed to be locked up. And enough time has passed to where I'm willing to come forward and say whatever needs to be said. You know, but at this point, in order for me to obtain freedom, I have to accept this conviction. I have to accept the charges and be like, you know, I shouldn't have this much time. I have to accept the conviction and the charges that's being brought to me in order to get a sentence modification because they originally gave me 50 years for an attempted murder charge. And that's preposterous. My first time being locked up, they gave me 50 years for it. I didn't get a second chance. I didn't get an opportunity that a lot of other people get that got more severe crimes and like people that's raping people, you know what I mean? Like people that's killing people, you know what I mean? Not to take away from the fact that this man was paralyzed and lost stability in his life, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's two lives. There's multiple lives being taken. When somebody shoots somebody, it's the victim. It's the person who shot his family. Everybody is being victimized in this situation. But at what point does justice and the truth really matter when people ain't looking for that, though? They're not looking for the truth. They just looking for somebody to convict. And that's what the judicial system did when it was time for my case because it was election time. They didn't care about the truth, and they still don't. And that's why I have to accept this conviction in order for me to even get a chance to come home. My daughter is 14 years old at this point. Okay. And I done lost everything that you can think of except my sanity in this situation.
Okay.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
So, Mr. Helms, on that fateful day that this happened on, are you telling us that you were not there?
No, I wasn't there at all. I was not there at all.
Okay. Are you telling us that you did not shoot Mr. Joe Kaluza?
I did not shoot Mr. Joe Kaluza. Not at all, man. And, you know, I even went as far as trying to write him, but they said that wouldn't have been good to do, you know what I mean? But nobody identified me except my co-defendant on my case.
Okay. So Mr. Joe Kaluza himself did not identify you?
No.
Okay. Now, Mr. Helms, can I ask you a question? Who is Kimberly Helms?
That's my mother.
Okay. Now, Mr. Helms, can I ask you, because this is public information, is it true that your mother worked at the KFC that Mr. Joe Kaluza managed and the prior year to that was terminated for allegedly stealing from that KFC? Is that true, sir?
Nah, it's halfway true. My mother did just so happen to work for that KFC that they were speaking on, and it was multiple times where I went up there and visited my mother while she was at work because I was staying with her at the time. But my mother ended up being fired because just like, I'm pretty sure you're familiar, but once you got a felony on your record, regardless if it's 20 years from now, that felony will always prevent you from being able to have the opportunities that a lot of other people have that haven't committed crimes. Now, my mother had been drug-free for almost 20 years. Mm-hmm. She hadn't been convicted of any crime for over 15 years. But when they found out about her background, that she had a robbery on her thing, they terminated her. She had worked herself up to the management position at that job. But that didn't affect me or have nothing to do with me. It was just the fact that, you know, that was her business. But that didn't have nothing to do with me.
Okay. Now, like I said, I'm asking because this is public information. Now, Mr. Kaluza, first of all, I want to say R.I.P. to your mother, and I want to salute your mother was too late to salute. It's never too late to salute her, but I want to salute her for getting off of drugs, if that's what you said, and she got herself together and she got a job and she became a manager of that KFC. And many, like you say, many felons do not get an opportunity because records follow us for the rest of our lives. Okay, so I salute her for that, and I'm gonna RIP to your mother. Now, Mr. Kaluza stated that your mother was familiar with the drops that money drops to the bank, and that they wanted your co-defendant to take a plea deal. They gave her a couple plea deals, 3 plea deals, if I'm not mistaken, and they made in the plea deal, they wanted her to tell on your mother to say that your mother knew what was going on and provided you guys with information, and she refused to do that.
Right, and that's exactly what happened. Now, the reason that she refused, because she was scorned. She didn't like the fact that I was going home. She didn't like the fact that I left her. And that was one of the reasons why I felt like, because they convinced her that she was going down, that she just didn't want me to be out there at the same time. But that's what my mind told me at the time. We've had conversations based on that. But the reason she didn't say nothing about that situation pertaining to my mom, she didn't take the stand on that behalf, was because it wasn't the truth.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It just wasn't the truth, though. Like, they tried to utilize the information that they did have to make a story make sense, though, because it made sense. But you know how many people get fired from this place? Anybody could have robbed this place, because it was a guy that was on the case that they went and interrogated too, and they had him in custody. His aunt was a manager at the KFC that worked there, and he was a convicted felon for robbery charges. If I'm not mistaken, his name was Timothy McWilson. Now, his name is in the public records as well, and his aunt worked at the same KFC. So just like, she could have been having problems with people there, why wouldn't that be motive for him to do the same thing that they tried to say that I did?
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that, Mr. Helms. Now, Mr. Helms, are you aware that Miss Hattie Gilbert, she still loves you to this day and is very much in love with you? Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. When was the last time that you may have spoken to Miss Hattie Gilbert or reached out to her?
The last time I reached out to her, I just checked on her probably about within the last month. I just sent her a card and was just telling her I was thinking about her and seeing where her headspace was at. Because prior to that, I had got caught with a cell phone in here, and I had spoke with her, and she was saying that suicide was on her mind, and she was really thinking about hurting herself because this time is starting to get to her. And I was just telling her to keep her head up and that I loved her, and if she needed me, I was here.
Okay. Now, can I also let you know that we did an interview also with Miss Hattie Gilbert, and Miss Hattie Gilbert is clearly stating the total opposite of what you're saying, and she's saying that it was you that pulled the trigger.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
She said it was you that pulled the trigger, and after how it came about, what she said was she's supposed to have caused an accident. She said she did that, jumped in front of him, and he slammed on the brakes and hit her car. And she said it was in the wrong spot, and she was thinking that it was going to not happen. The robbery was not going to happen. And she just said out of nowhere, you came out of the blue and you shot him. He said after you shot Mr. Kaluza, that you walked up to her car, she saw a look in your eyes.
You have 1 minute remaining.
That she never saw before, and she said that you flagged her on and told her to go, and you stayed behind. And there was one witness that identified you as the shooter that was across the street, lived across the street somewhere, and said that she saw you. Is any of this true, Mr. Helms?
First off, there was never, from the beginning till now, there was never anybody who was able to identify me as the suspect ever, though. Like, nobody. The only person who ever identified me was Hattie Gilbert. You know what I mean? And she made me aware of the situation that happened. Like I said, we've had prior conversations from the county all the way until now, though. You know what I mean? Like, we don't talk about the case as much, but She told me about the story, but she never implicated. The only time she ever implicated me was during.
Hold on, let me say this. Let me say this, because in her defense, she did not say anything bad about you. She did not, crap on your name. She didn't say anything.
Thank you for using GTL.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you guys, you're hearing this, right? You guys are hearing this, right? I'm just letting you know. This is see, ladies, you got to be cautious and you got to be careful of the dudes that you deal with, because if you're not cautious and careful of the dudes you deal with, you see what's happening here, right? You see what's happening here, right? This dude is throwing her under the bus, and this is her fault. He said nobody ID him but her. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Who's lying? Who's telling the truth? Hey, I'm unbiased to this. I'm unbiased. I don't have an opinion. I'm gonna stay right here in the middle. I'm gonna stay right here in the middle. I'm not gonna go left to Mr. Helms' side, and I'm not gonna go right to Miss Hattie's side. I'm just gonna stay right here in the middle of what this conversation is all about. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna see if he's gonna call back. Oh, he's calling back. He's calling back.
Thank you for using GTL.
Oh, okay, I'm back. As I was saying, Mr. Helm, she never said nothing bad about you. She never said nothing negative about you. The woman still loves you. She still has feelings for you. And in the interview, her exact words were this: I am not. She was not here to bash you, which is the co-defendant, and she was not there to try to make you look bad. And she was not here to try to make your family or her family look bad. She just wanted to tell her side of the truth. And so I said, my audience asked me to reach out to you for your side of the truth of the situation. And that's what I'm doing, reaching out to you, allowing you to tell your side of the truth. Me personally, let me tell you, I'm not on your side. I'm not on Miss Gilbert's side. I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle, and I'm unbiased. And the reason why I'm unbiased to the fact is, like I say, I'm a street cat. And I did my time. I did time, as you doing now. And I just want to use my platform to give the inmates an opportunity to tell their side of the truth so it can be heard, because a lot of important people watches my show and listens to my show to see what's going on, and lawyers have gotten involved in cases because of my show and documentaries as well. So that's why I'm here to always give my platform.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
To give my platform to the inmates. So, it's not my place to judge whether she's not telling the truth or you're not telling the truth. It's just let you guys get it out here, because in the middle somewhere it's gonna all line up, and bam, the truth is gonna be right there in that middle of the conversation. So now,
absolutely,
most definitely. So now, go ahead, brother, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but from the beginning, even after she told me what was going on and she told me why she couldn't tell exactly what happened, to right now, like, I still understand why she's still saying what she's saying. Like, she has, I believe her daughter should be like 19 or 20 at this point. She still has a family out there to protect, you know what I mean? And I respect her for telling that part of the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's her truth, and that's what she has to stick to, because her family's safety is at hand. And I understand that, you know what I mean? But I also have a child as well. And for you to provide me with the opportunity to tell the truth and tell what really happened, I wouldn't take that for granted, and nor would I put myself in a position to be looked down upon any further. Not from you, but, from the audience that do watch a show or anything like that, because at the end of the day, like I said, I've lost too much. Like, time is way too precious to be taken for granted. And I'm not going to utilize this opportunity or your time or the time in general to tell no lie about nothing that's going on. She has to say what she's saying right now in order to protect her family, and I wouldn't take that away from her. You know what I mean? And I hope her family is cool, and I hope that she finds the protection and safety that she requires in order for her to still be okay. You know what I mean? But all I can ever do is tell the truth.
Now, and like I said, that's a respectful thing. Your truth versus her truth. Now, let me ask you this question. Now, they said it would be a bad idea for you to write to Mr. Kaluza. Now, Mr. Kaluza, you do know that he passed away a few years ago. Am I right? You know that?
Absolutely. Yes, sir. I
Okay.
know.
Now let me ask you this question, because Mr. Kaluza's family is probably listening. If you had the opportunity to say anything to the Kaluza family, what is it that you would say to them that you want them to know and that you wanted them to hear, coming directly from you, uncut, uncensored? And I'm going to give you the opportunity to say what you need to say to the Kaluza family right here, right now.
Well, if I had an opportunity to say something to the Kaluza family, I honestly would say that, me losing someone as significant as my mother kind of like put a lot of different things into perspective. So the pain that they had to feel, from him being shot, paralyzed, and then dying, and then also his wife dying, because she was a wonderful lady from what I had an opportunity to speak with her. I would say to them that I apologize for the part that I play in not saying anything, because me saying something could have saved someone's life. But, life is all about perspective, and the things that I was taught as I was brought up was to always know less so that you didn't have to speak. This is how I was raised. Everybody was raised different, and that doesn't excuse me not saying nothing and possibly being able to save someone's life or save someone from being harmed. But at the same time, though, that's all I knew. That's all I knew at the time. So for them to have someone hurt in their family to the level he was hurt, I would apologize to him and tell them that I share in their sympathy. He had 2 kids, if I'm not mistaken, a girl and a boy. And those people was affected by, they was affected by the things that happened that day. You know what I mean? And they're still being affected by those things, because at the end of the day, he's no longer here.
Exactly. Now, in court, okay, let me ask you this question.
Thank you for using GTL.
We got hung up on. We got hung up on, ladies and gentlemen, and he's going to call us back. We're going to see. Ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I don't know. I lost you. I don't know if it was your end or my end.
I just moved into a new cell. So it was on this end. I just moved into a new cell, and the reception is kind of bad in here. That was my fault.
Okay. Well, okay. Now you did say that you spoke with Mr. Kaluza's wife, Mrs. Kaluza. Am I correct?
Yes.
What was that conversation like, speaking with Mrs. Kaluza?
It was pretty much through a third party, and all she pretty much said was that she forgives me. She told me that she forgives me, and that she said it at sentencing that she didn't feel like I should have received all of the time that I received, and she said that everybody deserves the opportunity to be forgiven. And sometimes it's harder to hear for a victim. For the victim's family, it's harder to hear somebody say that they didn't do something when somebody was convicted. When you have somebody to aim that hurt or that pain or that anger towards, then that's who that's aimed towards, compared to knowing that, the person that's being incarcerated or being convicted is the actual.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to take that away from his family. You know what I mean? Because my little brother just got shot 8 times and killed on May 23rd. You know what I mean? So if me personally was put in the position to have to feel some type of way towards somebody, and I had somebody to aim that anger and towards that pain, that hurt, all of that comes with that losing somebody or somebody being hurt that I love, there's nothing that nobody can say to me. So me saying what I'm saying, I hope that it will one day reach the ears and touch the hearts of the individuals who was hurt in behind the situation, regardless of who it was, because their family wasn't the only family that was hurt that day. My family was been hurt. Hattie's family was been hurt. You know what I mean? We all got to find a way to heal. And the way to heal is realize that, things do happen. And, justice is being served, based off of the judicial system. You know what I mean? I'm sitting here, Hattie's sitting here, and, like I said, the only way for me to get out of here is to accept his conviction. Me trying to get back into the courts is not going to be the way that I get out of here, because all they're going to do is them having to find someone else to convict is not something that they're going to want to do. So I'm going to have to say that it was me. I'm going to have to accept that in order for my time to be reduced, because so much stuff has been put into play. Having to find somebody else to convict is hard.
Exactly.
That means they got to start that whole process over. So I'm going to accept that. And with me accepting that, it's accountability. You know what I mean? Like, because, like I said, I could have said something that could have changed the outcome of this situation, just like that lady could have said something that could change the outcome of me being in this position. But I accept the responsibility that comes with knowing that I played a part by not saying nothing or not doing nothing to prevent this situation from happening. So for his family and the people that are listening, I apologize. You know what I mean? Everybody deserves another chance. You know what I mean? And that chance will give me an opportunity to show and prove that I haven't not been utilizing this time to rehabilitate myself and correct the errors in my thinking and judgment. You know what I mean? Because they're not going to do it for me. I had to take the initiative to do that myself.
Okay. Now, do you know if Mr. Kaluza himself forgiving you guys? Or you don't know that, or you don't know?
I don't know. I mean, his sister, I think her name was like Anna or Ann Fitzgerald. Like, she was so angry and hurt that, you know what I mean, that was the only person that I never had a chance to have any conversation with, because there's a lot of people, like I said, that's hurting behind the situation, and she was angry, you know what I mean? She probably still is, but as of now, as of today, I never knew if Mr. Kaluza forgave me or Hattie. You know what I mean? I believe he said something in his statement along those lines, but, I don't recall to its entirety.
Okay. Now, with that being said and done, Mr. Helms, you said you had a little brother that just passed away. Or there was murder. Is that your only brother, or is or is another brother, other brothers or sisters?
Nah, I have two brothers with my mother, and I have another little brother with my father. And my other little brother, his name is Devontae, and my brother that got killed, name is Rashawn Clay. He got killed May 23rd at a club on the west side of Youngstown. He got shot 8 times in the chest and was killed.
My condolences go out to you and the family. And did the killer ever get caught on that situation, or you're unaware?
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
As of right now, nah. There still hasn't been anybody convicted, arrested, any of that. You know what I mean? When it comes to the African American community, you know what I mean? Like, not to go too deep or further into anything, but, we have gotten to the point to where we have become our own oppressors. And, with the people that be in the different positions, they not doing nothing but sitting back watching. You know what I mean? And they don't have to do what they used to do back in the day. And now, at this point, it's like when an African American kill another African American, you don't see nobody getting these buck Rogers numbers. You don't see that. Why? Because, people in those positions know that that's just something that has become so natural that it's becoming our nature. That's something that they used to seeing. But you shoot a white man, not taking that to question, you shoot a white man or a white woman, like, man, they'll throw you under the jail, depending on who they is. You would think that you shot the president or something. Like, not taking away from neither one of these sides that could happen. But, if you sit back and you actually do your research on a lot of people that's in prison, and you ask them, like, how much time you get for this? You do the comparing contrast, like, it's not going to add up. So something ain't right. Ain't nobody locked up for my brother being locked up and skin killed.
I trust me, I already know. Like I said, I was once where you are today, so I already know what you're talking about. I know that firsthand to be the truth. I know it to be the truth. So now, if you're released, Mr. Helms, when you're released, if you're released earlier than expected, what are your plans? What are your plans to do in the community to get back in to show the community that you're an asset and not a liability?
Well, first, like I said, I started my own publishing company. So, because of my brother, his name is Solomon Clay, he has his own label, which is Switching Lanes Entertainment. He gave me an opportunity to create my own platform in order to provide, opportunities for other people. But the reason I utilize that is because even from right now, within the next couple of weeks, I should be doing a hat, glove, and coat giveaway for kids, through my company, because, with Greatest Discovery being the company, the greatest discovery is that which has yet to be discovered. So me saying that is like, I'm going to utilize my platform, the things that I'm able to do to help others, though, because, a lot of kids back in the day was presented with that Scared Straight program. And you got people running up in their face screaming like, I'll do this to you if you was here. This is what's going to happen if you come here. But then on the opposite end, you don't have the Boys and Girls Clubs that coinciding with that program in order to create equality. So I want to utilize the experiences and the lessons that I learned along the way to be able to prevent people from having to experience this, man, because from a child to now, the cycle of hurting people is something that is continuing to go on. And until we learn to break those cycles, violence and stuff like that is going to continue to happen. You know what I mean? And I've been in the gang since I was 11 years old. You know what I mean? I've been in the gang since I was 11 years old. So, you know what I mean? And it wasn't because of the violence. It was because I didn't have that love. I didn't have those male figures. I didn't have those people around me to teach me better. So I may not be able to reach a lot of people with my story or the things that I've been through. But even if I just reach one person and it may change their life, you know what I mean? That's just what I want to do. Like, I may not have to work for nobody after I get out of here because, like I said, I started my own company. James Patterson did it. Why can't I? You know what I mean? So
this call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
I just want to put myself in a position to help other people. You know what I mean? I didn't become a certified speaker just so that I can talk better and manipulate people or anything in situations like that. I became a certified speaker so that when I do go get out of here, I can go to a school with kids and express to them why they shouldn't make, or not even why they shouldn't make those mistakes, give them options, a better understanding of what happens, compared to trying to hide the world from them, which a lot of us do as parents. We hide the world from the kids, and then when the world hit them, they don't know what to do. So, with me being in these situations and experiencing the things that I've experienced, I can give them an option and give them a better understanding. Like, this what comes with this. You know what I mean? If you choose to make that decision, then that's on you. But you not knowing is what the problem is the majority of the time.
Sounds like you got a plan, my brother. Sounds like you got a plan. So, when you do get out, are you going to stay in Ohio, or are you going to relocate to another city or another state?
In all honesty, Mr. Foster, I don't care where they put me as long as I got my daughter, man. I've been away from her for 13 years, and the only thing she done asked me as of lately is just that, regardless of what you do, man, please just spend some time with me. You know what I mean? I don't want to stay in Ohio, you know what I mean, because I just don't. You know what I mean? It's like it's so much pain here. You know what I mean? It's so much pain where I'm from. It's so much things that's not been dealt with that won't have an opportunity to be dealt with. And, I just want to give her a fresh start. You know what I mean? Like, we can't take our pain away, but we can help each other heal. You know what I mean? We don't have to do it in a vicinity where so much pain came about.
No doubt, my brother, no doubt. Well, Mr. Helms, I want to thank you for being a part of the Real World Podcast and sharing your side of the truth with my audience and just, getting the record straight, saying what you have to say. I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? Because, you didn't have to do that, but when I reached out to you, you came on and you said, "Hey, I want my side of the truth to be heard, and I want everybody to know the real." And that's respectable. And I feel that we gave you that opportunity here to get it out, say what you had to say, and you made some great valid points in some of the things you had to say, sir.
And I appreciate you for giving me that opportunity because there's not a lot of people that care. Not so much because everybody may hear this and may not believe that it's the truth. But then there's some people that may hear it and then, they may believe that it's the truth. Regardless of the opinion, it's not a lot of people that's giving individuals in these predicaments that opportunity. And regardless of the opinion after it's heard or regardless of whatever, though, you know what I mean? I just want to thank you for that opportunity because, like I said, we don't get that. We don't get that. And, you know, like I told you before we started talking, you know, today I just lost my grandmother. So, and you unintentionally gave me an opportunity to give the pain that I feel today from losing her purpose. You know what I mean? Even regardless of what comes from this, you gave me that opportunity, and I appreciate you and your audience for listening.
And I'm going to thank you because you called and you told me that. And I asked you, did you want to do this another day? And you said, no, I want to do it today. And you wanted to, you know, through the grieving and all, you sat down and you gave us this interview. And I'll be forever grateful for that, for you doing that, because you didn't have to do that, you know, because, like, let me tell you, in prison, when inmates lose a family one, like their mother, their father, or their grandparents, they shut down. A lot of them shut down, and they don't want to be bothered with nobody, or they go out and go out into the population and they mess somebody up on one of the pods or whatever, and get thrown in the hole. And for you not to do that, that says a lot about your character and show that, hey, you know, you deserve a second chance to get out here and be an asset and not a liability.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, my brother.
You have 1 minute remaining.
I'm gonna say thank you, and I'm gonna say this: you got the phone number and you got the email address, and you can reach out anytime, and we can make something happen. You know what I'm saying? And we'll go from there. You know what I mean? And
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
with
And I appreciate you as well.
no problem, brother. And I'll talk to you. Probably tomorrow. That's cool.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. If somebody wanted to hear this interview, they would go to either one of these websites.
Yep,
Is
YouTube.
something they would click on?
Yep, go on YouTube and tell them to search Real WHIRL Podcast. WHIRL is spelled WHIRL Podcast, and they can see all my work with other inmates.
WHIRL. Okay.
Yep, yes,
I appreciate you yet again. I'll hit you up tomorrow.
Okay, my brother. Peace and love, family.
Peace.
All right.
Thank you for using